stand.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you this morning for your great mercy and grace upon our nation, upon our lives, upon this ceremony here in the city of Campbell. We thank you from our hearts, from our minds. We thank you for those that have served, those that are fallen. We thank you for the families. We thank you for those that are serving now, here and abroad. We thank you for those that have served, that are present. We thank you and we ask your blessings upon this memorial ceremony here in the city of Campbell. And most of all, we thank you for those that are present here with us to celebrate and remember our freedoms came with a price.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Day Walker.
Thank you, Ken. In 1967, I made my first deployment to Vietnam. In my platoon, one of our squad leaders named Ralph Vessa. Ralph was with me the first time I was in combat. Doug Coker and Jack Wilkinson were killed that day. It was quite a humbling and disorienting experience, to say the least. Ralph stayed in the military and in fact ended up my first tour as Tet Offensive 1968, Battle for the City of Hue. We lost 127 Marines in that battle. More than 50% of our Marines were wounded, and that's what ended the first tour. I came back prepared for the second. Ralph stayed in, and he stayed in the military, served in Iraq. And when Ralph died, I was asked to do his memorial service in Arlington, Virginia. In Arlington. I was struck by the immensity of Arlington. If you haven't been there, it's a good place to go. It's a humbling experience, it's a spiritual experience. 624 acres, more than 300,000 of our men and women buried there. In Europe, over 101,000 of our men are buried there from the Second World War. And so today I was asked to explain maybe the meaning of, what Memorial Day is about. I came across a story, actually a friend sent to me from Ground Zero. He's one of my supervisors there. It has to do, or took place in front of the Iwo Jima Memorial back in Arlington. The story was written by a videographer. His name is Michael T. Powers. He wrote it in 2000, and it was told by James Bradley. I'll pick up the story partway in. And I thought this story exemplified why we celebrate or remember Memorial Day. My name is James Bradley, and I'm from Antigua, Wisconsin. He's speaking to a group of children that were there on a field trip. And I just wrote a book called Flags of Our Fathers, which is number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list right now. It is the story of 6 boys who you see behind me. 6 boys raised the flag. The first guy put in the hole in the ground is Harlan Block. Harlan was an all-time state football player. He enlisted in the Marine Corps with the senior members of his football team. And they were off to play another type of game. It was a game called war. But it didn't turn out to be a game. Harlan, at the age of 21, died with his intestines in his hands. I don't say this to gross you out. I say this because people who stand in front of the statue and talk about the glory of war, you need to know that these guys that died at Iwo Jima were 17, 18, and 19 years old. And it was so hard that the ones who did make it home never would talk about it with their families. If you're a combat vet, I think you understand that tone. He pointed to the statue. You see this next guy? That's Rene Gagnon. He's from New Hampshire. If you took Rene's helmet off at the moment this photo was taken and looked into the webbing of the helmet, you'll see a photograph of his girlfriend. Rene put that there for protection because he was scared. When he was 18 years old, it was boys just like him that won the Battle of Iwo Jima. Boys, not old men. The next guy here, the third guy in the tableau, was Sergeant Mike Strank. Mike is my hero. He was a hero of all these guys. They called him the old man because he was 24 years old. When Mike would motivate his boys in training camp, he didn't say, let's go kill some Japanese, or let's go be heroes, or let's die for our country. He knew he was talking to boys. Instead, he would say, do what I say, and I'll get you home to your mothers. The last guy on the side of the statue is Ira Hayes. Ira is a Pima Indian from Arizona. Ira Hayes was one of them who lived to walk off Iwo Jima. He went into the White House with my dad, and President Truman told him, you're a hero. He told reporters, how can I feel like a hero when 250 of my buddies hit the beach and only 27 of us walked away? So you take the class at school. 250 you spend the year together having fun, doing everything together. Then all 250 of you hit the beach, but only 27 of you lived to walk off. That was Ira Hayes. He had the image of horrors in his mind. Ira Hayes carried the pain home with him and eventually died dead drunk, face down, in a shallow pool of water. He was aged 32 years old, just 10 years after he'd been at Iwo Jima. The next guy going around the statue is Franklin Sousley from Hilltop, Kentucky. A fun-living hillbilly boy, his best friend is now 70. And he told me, you know, we took 2 cows and tied them to the porch at the top of the Hillview General Store. We fed them Epsom salts, and the cows pooped all night. Those cows, well, they were fun living, and we had some fun with it. Franklin died in Iwo Jima at age 19. The telegram came to his mother that he was dead. It went to the Hilltop General Store. The barefoot boy ran that telegram up to his mother's farm. The neighbors could hear her scream all night. And into the morning, those neighbors lived a quarter-mile away, and you still hear her screaming and wailing. The next day, as we continued to go around the statue, and the next guy is my dad, John Bradley, from Antigua, Wisconsin, where I was raised. My dad lived until 1994, but he would never give interviews. When Walter Cronkite, producer of the New York Times, would call, we were trained as little kids to say, no, I'm sorry, sir, my dad's not here. Where's he go? He went to Canada to go fishing. In truth, his dad never fished. And he says, my dad usually would be sitting right there, and he'd be eating his Campbell soup, but we had to tell the press that he was out fishing. He didn't want to talk to the press. You see, like Ira Hayes, my dad didn't see himself as a hero. Everyone thinks these guys are heroes because they are in a photo and on a monument. My dad knew better. He was a medic. John Bradley from Wisconsin was a combat caregiver. And on Iwo Jima, he held over 200 boys as they died. And when boys died in Iwo Jima, they writhed and screamed. Medication for pain was not available. And when I was a little boy, my 3rd grade teacher told me that my dad was a hero. And when I went home and told my dad that, he looked at me and said, I want you to always remember that the heroes at Iwo Jima did not come back. They did not come back. So that's the story of 6 nice young boys. 3 died in Iwo Jima, and 3 came back as national heroes. Overall, 7,000 boys died on Iwo Jima in the worst battle in history of the Marine Corps. My voice is giving out. So I'll end here. Thank you for your time.